Certainly. So in the early phases of an open data initiative, quite a lot of the challenges that government officials face is how to make open data real for people. So how can we get the strong stories and the case studies that enable what is quite a technical concept to be something which people can understand, get behind, and really be motivated to be a part of attaining something. And this convincing has to happen both within government, so perhaps across line ministries or across different agencies who are data owners, but also with the wider community of potential data users in the private sector or citizens, civil society, academics, getting people to understand the potential of this new way of working and of this new raw material that they can use for their ends is a real key challenge. So far we've seen three main benefits coming from open data for citizens and for the economy and society as a whole. The first one has been that it's enabled innovation and economic growth and potential. So this has come both from new companies being able to build new businesses using data or enabling open data. And my organisation, the Open Data Institute, incubates 17 such organisations who are creating jobs using open data. It may also be in terms of enabling foreign direct investment. So when investors are making an assessment on where to invest, being able to access data and information in an easily accessible way is important for unlocking some of that innovation. And also other services, for example around tourism, is an important source of the economic potential of open data. The second is around government efficiency and better working. One of the main users of open data is actually other people from within government. And being one ministry being able to readily access data from another ministry when it needs to address some of the very tricky and complex challenges that governments these days have to face, being able to quickly download it from a portal or from an online site is often a lot less painful and quicker than having to go through the traditional channels in government of accessing data, which can often involve having to move up through the hierarchy and get permissions, sometimes at ministerial level. Being able to, with a click of a button, download data is much quicker. And in the US, one of the biggest users of open data has actually been other parts of the government machinery. The final benefit for citizens that we've seen and for society that we've seen has been increased transparency of government. So making public both the expenditure of government as well as information around contracting, information around what governments are doing and who they're working with, where investments are being made is extremely important. One area in this, for example, is making available budgeting data or even say data about the performance of different services, which enables citizens and others to sort of see, okay, are the investments that we're making in public services leading to the kind of outcomes that we want to see? And this creates some pressures on government to really step up and to be delivering services for citizens. So it's absolutely right that one of the key enablers of a successful open data initiative and of open data leading to real world applications, knowledge, insights, a key enabler of that is ongoing interaction between government as quite often the data producers and collectors and the data users themselves. And that ongoing conversation is absolutely key. Malaysia is not alone in government and the wider community sometimes having a difficult conversation. It's something we experience in the UK, across the European Union, and across the world. there's some concrete measures that have worked in other places in order to enable some of this exchange to happen. And quite often it involves either setting up forums or mechanisms of having more formal ongoing conversations between data producers and data users. So just for example in the UK, the Open Data Users Group. But also there have been some really interesting different types of initiatives happening as well. One thing that's happening quite frequently in Latin America, in particular in places like Chile and Mexico, is that government have gone out and actively recruited people who are data users, maybe entrepreneurs or people who are involved in setting up tech startups or people who've been involved in civil society, and recruiting them and bringing them in and making them a part of the team and working alongside civil servants. And what this enables is for some of the cultural barriers that inevitably exist between government and the private sector in any context, some of those cultural barriers to be overcome by having this sort of exchange happening on an ongoing basis. But also enables some of the networks of that individual to be made more accessible to the government team. So when you have somebody from the other side who's a part of your team and who can go out and be an advocate for the work that's going on, that's something, it's a slightly softer mechanism, but that's something which can really enable bridging a little bit of that distance. And what we've already seen this morning as part of the Big Apps Challenge, that Malaysia has and is famous for having a fantastically well-educated and tech-savvy and entrepreneurial generation, and this is going to be a huge asset as the open data and as the sort of the big data analytics initiatives push forward. So I think in the same way that a lot of other places have some steps to take in this direction, I think Malaysia is very well placed to succeed.